Good morning and welcome to Sips of Sanity. We're on day 3 of July. We're talking about people pleasing this month. Yeah. Day 1 was about recognizing the kind of people pleaser that you are, and day 2 was more about understanding how we are conditioned into the people pleasing roles.
That's right. And day 3 started when I got up this morning, Kel, because when I got out of the shower, the spirit guide said, your day 3 show is called Feeding the Narcissist. And I said, oh my God, give me 5 minutes to get out of the shower. I have to get a pen and paper.
You could have like a board in the shower where you could write on it and it'd be waterproof.
Yeah.
That'd be good for you.
Yeah, that would be, because so much information comes through when I'm in the shower in the morning. But anyway, Feeding the Narcissist,
Someone will pause and hang on to that funny comment, but you go ahead.
Okay, so Feeding the Narcissist, I just remember saying to the spirit world, that's freaking brilliant because it's catchy, but it really does mean that when you're a people pleaser, you are going to attract narcissists. What's that expression? Like flies on poop.
Okay. I was thinking more of a zoo theme of Don't Feed the Bears, but that's fine. We can go with that.
No, I mean like flies on poop.
I know.
Because you're literally, as your little people pleasers running around this planet saying, I'm willing to meet all of your needs, attracts all of those people that say me, me, me.
I need to put my shit somewhere. Yeah.
Yes. And nothing's ever going to be my fault. It's going to be yours. And people pleasers are all about everything's my fault. I should apologize.
True.
I should take responsibility for everybody else. And we already know they got that from the way they were raised. We already know the reasons why those people pleasers believe this stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'll say stupid stuff because it is stupid and it is harmful. It's harmful to your health. It's harmful to you as a human being.
Mm-hmm. And this is what we talk about a lot in sessions where we say, can you examine your false beliefs? It's something, it's just a belief that you've bought into. The same way that if you're in a grocery store in Walmart and you decide, no, I'm putting it back on the shelf, put it back on the shelf.
Oh, I like that. And I think too, like quite often in treatments, it's when we say to clients that your people pleasing sits in your left hip. It sits in your ass, people. It sits in a certain part of your body.
Yes.
But it really truly does.
In a tight muscle.
Yes.
In a rigidity in the neck, in so many different ways, in an ulcer.
Yeah. And then how do we hear those organs for you and I as medical intuitives say, this is what she was taught. This is how she heard this. This is how she now behaves with other people. Mm-hmm. So people pleasers attract narcissists. They should have t-shirts, Kelly.
That are Velcro?
Yes. Like they, yes, they should. Seeking narcissist. I'm a people pleaser. And I think if they actually had those t-shirts, that maybe the narcissist might look at it and go, okay, she's on to me. If she's that smart about her people pleasing, she's on to my behavior. Maybe not her. Maybe not him if they're trying to clean up their act. But somehow we have to be able to recognize our own behavior so that we understand what we're attracting instead of being victims. Mm-hmm. So people pleasers attract the narcissist and then go into victim mode. They're the ones that whine and complain, sit with their friends over coffee and lunch and tea and complain about their spouse or their coworkers.
Or the people pleaser or the narcissist?
The people. Oh, I'm going to say the people pleasers do.
Okay.
I'm going to say people pleasers complain a shit ton. Mm-hmm. And it keeps them in their people pleasing mode. It keeps them in the role of victim.
Of I'm fixer.
Yeah. He doesn't appreciate me. She doesn't appreciate what I do. This boss doesn't appreciate me. Well, if that's your line on a consistent basis, you're a people pleaser.
And what about the people pleasers that don't complain, where they are the tagline, everything's fine?
Oh, well, yes, that's on the spectrum, right?
Okay.
And there are going to be different ways that they express being a people pleaser.
Yeah, and I want to bring that up because if you're talking about feeding the narcissist, we also have to understand how both positions feed the narcissist, whether you are a complainer or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things I think that people pleasers struggle so tremendously with, the cost to be a people pleaser, is that they don't know what they think. They don't know what they want. They wait for everybody else. They sit down in a restaurant. I remember doing this a shit ton in my life. And there's a great little story about that. But being a people pleaser means that if you don't even know what you want, then when somebody says, where do you want to go for lunch? You wait for everybody else to make the decision. Mm-hmm. When you get into the restaurant, and I did this 100%.
Yeah. What are you ordering?
What are you ordering? And I would never say, oh, I don't know, because I didn't want to look stupid, first of all. And that's another thing narcissists feel. They feel, people pleasers feel stupid because they don't know themselves. So low self-esteem. But I would wait for other people to order, and I would always order what somebody else had. And part of that came from the fact that in a relationship that I was in, I wasn't allowed to order my own meal for a while because, well, you're not a big eater and I'm going to finish eating your meal anyway. So why don't we just get what I like? So he got what he liked and I got what he liked.
And
that might ring a bell for people.
Yeah.
So to come out of the people pleasing means I now have to know what I like to eat, what spices, what types of foods. And that's a big thing because food should be a big thing. It's one of the things that we have to do every day, several times a day, to keep this survival going. So if you don't even know what you like to eat and you're giving that up in a relationship or what you drink, you're giving up your survival mode.
Oh, I love that. That's quotable.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It is.
But if it's not the thing that wakes you up, then what will be? And you're talking about the cost, right?
Yes.
You're talking about if we are people that feed narcissists, what is the cost in our own life?
Yeah. And it can be life itself. Like when we're talking about this, I'm going to reword it in different ways with you.
Yep, I think that's great.
But people pleasing can be the reason you cease to exist, that you become a shell of a person. I remember after leaving one relationship, my sister said to me, the first time she saw me after I left, she said, oh my God, you're back. We lost you when you were 16. And I thought, you lost me? You lost me? It made me pause to think, how did I get lost at 16? But in all reality, it wasn't about just being 16 and meeting somebody and getting lost. It was the fact that right from birth, I was lost. If you're raised in a family with so much structure, with so much religion, with so much whatever, you don't have your own identity.
So then why do the narcissists keep coming back? What purpose are you serving in their life?
Feeding their ego. But I would say too, Kelly, that you feed their insecurities. You feed their fears. Mm-hmm. Because if they dealt with their own fears, they wouldn't be looking for a people pleaser.
I want to bring that up. I asked that question strategically, and I know you know that because I think it really helps us understand why we feel used. Mm-hmm. And even though people pleasers may know it on some level, that we give, it can be just in subtle conversations where it feels nice at the time, but we walk away thinking, I feel used somehow, and we can't pinpoint it.
And that's fair, especially if you are now going through a separation or a divorce, or you've been through one, or maybe several, and all you can think about is bashing your ex. He didn't appreciate me. She didn't. She this, she that. If you're the complainer saying they didn't appreciate, I gave up my life for that woman.
But they pleased up until this point.
That's right.
Okay.
Those are, there are key statements
that we make as people pleasers.
That's right.
Yeah.
And helps us stay in the people pleasing. So I've left that relationship. I got all grown up. Look at me. I went through a divorce. Well, that means dick all if you didn't do any work. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people leave one relationship to go into 2 and 3 other ones after that, repeating the same patterns. And I want to point something out here. You also do it from lifetime to lifetime. And that's one of the things you and I get to say to people. This is not your first round of this people-pleasing crap.
And this goes back to the pendulum because, like you said, they may go and repeat the cycle, but not necessarily from the same position. So if you've just come out of a relationship as the people-pleaser, the quiet one, you may go into the next relationship choosing someone who I can bully.
That's right.
So that there's a balance of control. And lifetime to lifetime, we've sat and channeled for people and said, you've been the one to be bullied before, and you came into this lifetime to figure out what it was like to be suppressed and how to come out of it and have empathy for both sides.
Yeah. And I love it when people can finally hear it in bigger terms. So, geez, Karen and Kelly, you mean I've done this in so many lifetimes? And I say, yes. And you're going to keep doing it in this lifetime in every single relationship until you get it right. So go right back into another relationship until you learn it. Mm-hmm. Or don't leave the one that you're in yet until you clean up your own shit.
Well, and this is why we've said to so many people, I hope you stay single for a while.
Yes. I say that frequently.
As do I.
And I mean in personal terms in my life too, when I see somebody who I love, cycling.
Yeah.
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 I like how you pointed out that people pleasers can go both ends.
Yes.
In one relationship, or do it in their first marriage, go out and do it in the second marriage and think that they changed, but they kept their people pleasing going in all relationships. And quite often the friend group sees it. The family sees it.
It's just a different name.
But we don't see it. So I want to point out here that in those loops, in particular when we're feeding the narcissistic person, we have to be able to identify that we're the one feeding them. Mm-hmm. And that if we cut off their source of supply, isn't that cool? Then you get to be the one to say, I'm cutting you off. I'm the one moving out of that. And I don't mean you have to get out of the relationship. I mean, you have to stop feeding the narcissistic supply.
Well, and we're also not talking about being mean. We're talking about setting good boundaries.
That's right. Yes. And a lot of people don't understand how to do that. So hopefully that's going to be something else we're going to get to teach them to do on this show, is to set those healthy boundaries so they can decide if they're going to be someone who stays or leaves, but do it healthily. Mm-hmm. None of this vicious stuff about getting back at people and hurting.
Oh, you're just carrying on cycles.
Yeah. And carrying on abuse, even though you think the narcissist is the one dishing out all the abuse. I don't think people pleasers saw themselves as the abusers. Mm-hmm. I really don't. And I think some of them might be very ticked off at us today to think that we've called them abusers.
That's okay. Anger can move us into some of our best states of action.
Right. Yes. And self-reflection.
Perfect.
Good.
Okay. So if you have questions or comments about today's show, you can email us at info@bysarlo.com. Otherwise, have a wonderful Wednesday.